Twinkle Little Tuesday. I can get creative and playful with these. So, welcome. Do you find yourself on the defense, quick to defend yourself? Were you one of those kids that when you walked into the house, oh, it wasn't me, oh, I didn't do it, nope, it was that one, pointing fingers, trying to take the attention off of yourself? See, I can remember that fear of punishment, that fear of authority that would put me on the quick defense, where I would walk in, and even my mother taught me. She told me, you know how I know that you're guilty? Because you basically reveal yourself. Because of the fear, we go quick to defend. Because we think we've done something wrong doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It's this old conditioning. It's an old collective. It's an old legacy that we've all carried in our genetics and our stories, passed on generation to generation. It's a collective collaboration. It is a collective old trauma wound. And so we all have it to some degree. It's whether or not you're aware of it and how deep it runs within you. And if it is still a conscious or unconscious driver, motivator, is it running the show? Again, this is where the mindfulness comes in. This is where awareness is key. The more aware you are of your mental constructs, your stories, whatever it is that we cling on to, our dogma, our beliefs, because we all have something. And we're all trying to navigate our way out of the deep, muddy waters of our shit. Hey, I speak from experience. So whatever you hear here on this channel, whatever I reveal is within me too. I have worked through it, or I am still working through it. Because life is cyclical. It is like a roller coaster ride. It is like the waves of the ocean. It is like the breath that you take in. What goes in has to come out. And what comes out may go back in. But to be in awareness of it, to notice what are your cycles, what are the motivators and the drivers, what are you promoting habits, what are your values? I was having that conversation today with my counselor. Everybody needs a counselor or therapist, someone to discuss whatever's going on with them. Whether it's a close friend of yours who you can confide in, or a neutral party who doesn't know you. Because when you have someone neutral, you can share whatever you're going through. It allows you the opportunity to unload without feeling like you're going to be judged. Because family can be sometimes the hardest to confide in, or not. It depends on your circumstances. So even though I am very close to my family, there are some things that I can't necessarily always discuss with them, that I do need a neutral party, that I do appreciate having access to therapists and counselors with the VA. So she asked me today, and it was an easy, quick response. She asked me, what do you value? I said, you know what I value? Integrity. A person who walks their talk. Because if you are not someone who's in alignment with your own integrity, I can see through it. And I have a hard time respecting another person if they themselves are not walking their talk and they're not aligned with what I perceive to be their integrity. Or if they don't align with mine either. So it's okay. You can still love people. You can still honor them where they're at. But for me, in my inner circle, the people I'm closest with, integrity is key. Integrity is alignment. Integrity means we have something in common that we both will hold each other accountable to. Those are the people in my inner circle. And even with my family, who knows, I can be a little tough love sometimes. My dad could get on his grumpy old man train, and I can turn around and go, hey, I don't like seeing you unhappy. Quit bitching, because you're creating more of that. And then just finding ways to finesse him into talking about something that brings him joy, because that's really where it's at. You know, some people can get caught in their shit. They can get in the cycle of negative Nancy's or, whatever it is, because it's part of the addiction to the drama and the trauma, is when you're around people, do they enable you in your shit? Do they enable your trauma? Or do they poke you out of it, hold you accountable and say, that's not your best version of you. I know you have something more sparkly inside of you that you're more prone to show. And so that is where it's important. The people that are in your circle are there to uplift you, hold you accountable to the best version of you, not cut you down, not shut you out or shut you down. But those are the people who raise you. They're not there to elevate themselves over you. They're not there to dictate anything to you. They're there to hold the space for you to be you, to be true to you, to allow your true soul essence to shine through. That's when you know you're around people of integrity. That's when you know it's safe to be you, because those people value you. They honor you where they're at, where you're at. And that shines through in relationship. But you have to be aware of the people you surround yourself with, and you have to know why. Sometimes people surround themselves with people that they can put down to elevate themselves. And that's not necessarily a kind way of going about it. It just may be an old pattern because of a lack mentality, the fear of not being enough. So therefore, by being around people who make them feel more because they're less than in their minds, and that's not healthy either. So we have to be able to be accountable, hold our loved ones accountable to a certain level, but not in the title of this video, but not to the point where they have to defend themselves to us either. Nobody should have to. Nobody should feel they have to defend themselves, explain themselves to anybody. It's one thing to communicate effectively with people. It's another thing to feel like you don't even trust yourself enough, or the other person holds you to this, you need to defend yourself to me, you need to prove yourself. If you're in that kind of toxic relationship, you need to reevaluate. Is it healthy? Is it helping? How is it serving you? Or is it holding you back? Because sometimes we have a tendency to be in codependent relationships that aren't serving us. They are holding us back, and we are only choosing it because it's familiar, because of old patterns and beliefs that maybe we don't feel worthy of something better. But you'll never know until you try something better. And trying something better or new and unfamiliar is going to be uncomfortable. But nothing new is going to happen to you unless you put yourself in new circumstances. Unless you place yourself in those out of your comfort zone circumstances, you're never going to grow. If we continue to keep doing the same thing over and over again, what do you think we're going to get as a result? It's been talked about, it's intellectualized. You can speak the speak, but you got to walk the talk. You can say, oh, I know that. But how are you applying it? Without application and integration into your own life, how's that helping you? How's that serving you? There's a lot of us out here talking the talk, but how many of us are walking the walk? These are things to reflect upon. Every single one of us has to be accountable only to ourselves. So going back to the subject, from the moment we're born, we're told we're born of original sin, that we have to prove ourselves, and not so many words. It's this sensation, it's this passing on, it's the, you're not good enough. You have to prove your worthiness. You have to prove yourself. You have to achieve certain things in your life to be successful. Here's the definition of success. It is presented to you. It may not be directly poured into saying you're not enough. It's the way that we're raised, indoctrinated into a system of, here's the list of things you must accomplish for you to prove your worth. Here's the level and the bar at which you need to meet to be successful. There's all these different terms, all this languaging around what is worthy. And for each and every one of us, that looks and feels differently. And for some, they don't feel like it's even attainable. And so to live in that fear that I may be incapable of reaching this goal, or that it's unattainable for me because this one can do it, and you're comparing yourself, because that's what it's all about. We've been taught to compare, to contrast in this world of polarity, in this world filled with duality. Where's a this, there's a that, there's a true, there's a false, there's a yin, there's a yang, there's a masculine, there's a feminine. There, for every one side, there's the flip side. For every up, there's a down. For every true, there's a false. When it comes down to it, there's always going to be the good and the bad, the malevolent and the benevolent. But when you can be neutral and you recognize that both of those are trapping you in systems of choosing sides, picking something, instead of recognizing, what about you? What is true for you? What resonates in you? Can you feel it in your body? Can you really truly tap into the gift of you? The neutrality that doesn't take you out of yourself. Because the this and the that, those traps of duality, the picking of a side, which is not a whole, is what takes you out of your wholeness. Whenever we choose something that's outside of ourselves and doesn't align with us, that's when we go without. So when we really back off on the, let me not defend myself for a change. Let me not explain myself for a change. See, I remember many of an occasion where I would get on the defense. Like I said, my mother, when I would walk in the house, it wasn't me. She'd said, do you know how I figure out that you're guilty of something? You pretty much admit your guilt to me. Because children are innocent. They're not natural liars. They're taught to lie. Through punishment, when you punish a child for doing something you said not to do, in a certain way, you're teaching them how to lie. Because they don't want that punishment again. They don't want to disappoint you. But if you teach them how to be truthful, honest, and kind, through your delivery, how you actually train them but not reprimand and punish them, because we're all being trained from the moment we're born how to participate in society, how to steep in that culture and to seep in these languages, these spell casts. We have all been through some form of it. Whether or not we were aware of it, we woke up to it, or maybe we're just getting started like, whoa, I had no idea. And now you're realizing, oh my gosh, my entire life was built upon everything I was told, but not what I felt. When you're first waking up to the reality of life versus the indoctrination and the lies and the stories that I know for myself even, I tried to go along to get along, to learn how I could navigate the culture, navigate life. Oh, I'm supposed to get a degree, and I'm supposed to get a certification, and I'm supposed to prove myself by getting a job, and also negotiating that job, and I have to work really hard, and I have to put in so many hours beyond the hours that are expected of me, because if I don't put in more, then I'm not doing enough. Yeah, I did a lot. I would always give more, give more, give more. And the only person who suffered was me, because I look back and I recognize how much I was always constantly trying to prove myself worthy of the positions I may have been in, proving myself worthy of acceptance of my colleagues or when I was in the military, or the businesses that I worked for, the corporations and the companies, and worthy of promotion, because of course Everything in our world is based on your performance in a lot of these jobs. So if you're not performing at a certain level, and that's the competitive nature of this workforce, they force, sounds kind of funny. Think about the language, workforce. It's not necessarily work you want to do, it's kind of forced upon you. Because then you're forced to work harder where others may not even meet a certain level or bar just to get promoted, just to get a pay raise, to feel worthy enough to ask for a raise. The stress that's involved with all of that takes you out of the peace. Do you feel like you're really helping the world through the work that you do, or is it just to get a paycheck? Does it align with your heart and soul? Is it your true essence? Is it really shining, radiating what it is you came here to serve and do in this world? I mean, I had to look over my life and go, wow. I enjoyed being in IT personally because I'm a problem solver. I love when I'm faced with a system that has issues and I find a resourceful way to fix it. Like, that was my niche. Like, go to Lana because she's had weird things that nobody else has encountered and had to apply certain types of, I had to go back to DOS commands when I had a cluster server. I know this is going to go over someone's head, but when I look back over my career, I have proud moments of, yeah, I know nobody else has had to deal with this. So if you ever have this problem, just come to me because I've experienced it firsthand. And that's a lot of things in my life. Like, I've actually sat here and gone, wow, I've had to have certain experiences in my life so that I myself wouldn't treat others that way because it didn't feel good for me to be treated that way. I've had that happen. I felt like the sacrificial lamb in a lot of my life. I have been the sacrificial lamb. And you know why I'm okay with that? Because I don't think anybody should ever feel the way I felt in many of those cases. Nobody should feel abandoned by a company in a foreign country, left without even a plane ticket. Nobody should be controlled by another, felt like they were watched all the time. I mean, I had that flashback with when I was in Korea with that one tech sergeant who wasn't even my supervisor. He was just the person who oversaw the desk. What was I working? I was working the switchboard. And he's like, I want you to tell me when you go on your breaks, where you're going. He didn't do that to anybody else. He singled me out. I'm like, how dare you? Who the hell are you? But see, that's an example of how some people, they themselves don't feel worthy. They're so insecure in themselves, they got to control others to give themselves that sense of power. Toxic environments. But it's not the environment that I was in, but it's a trickle-down effect of the leadership once again. So going back to this idea that you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, it's nobody's business. That if you have a vision in your life, keep that sacred, keep that a secret. Not everybody deserves access to you. Not everybody deserves to hear what your vision is because it's not their vision. They're not going to be able to see because it's your eyes. It's your path, your purpose, not theirs. We get excited because we know in our heart, we feel it. But when you share it with somebody who doesn't have the same vision, doesn't see what you see, feel what you feel, and then they start poo-pooing on it and they drag you down to their level, that's about them. And in some cases, it's out of envy or jealousy. And again, they're comparing and contrasting themselves. So if they speak ill will against you about your vision, which it's none of your business what they think, and it's none of their business to know your vision. Sometimes we get excited and sometimes we want to share it with people. And then we realize that was a mistake. I've done it so many times. Sometimes had the wind knocked out of my sails as a result. Because the people I thought who were closest to me, who I thought I had their support, were the first ones to shoot me down. Tell me how you're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to accomplish that. You're not going to be successful. And it was because they themselves didn't feel they could do it. See, when someone tells you how you're not going to be able to fulfill something they share with you, that's not about you, that's about them. They are sitting there wondering, would I be able to do that? Comparing it to you, and they're projecting what it is they think about them being able to do it. So they don't think you could do it because they couldn't do it. That's essentially what you're getting for feedback in those cases. And they are telling you all about their insecurities by saying that. So when they're telling you that they don't think you could do it, it's only because they don't feel they could do it. So take that into perspective and be very selective about the inner circle that you share your deepest dreams with. Don't feel you have to explain yourself. And anytime you get on the defense with somebody, take a deep breath and reflect. Take a deep breath, give yourself about 10 deep breaths or 10 seconds, count to 10. Because when you react, it shows you're emotional, and when you're reacting emotionally, you're being irrational. So you really want to be cautious, because people attack characters. And the more you volunteer your information, when you put yourself in a defensive mode, what you're essentially doing is showing the other party, and in some cases, these people are narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths. They know how to manipulate and take everything you give them and throw it back at you in the most attacking way that you didn't see coming. I'm only speaking from my experience, because I can tell you, I got Jedi mind tricked so many times that I didn't realize how bad it was until after the fact. That I was like, oh, I didn't need to say that. I just gave way more information than I needed to. And it was mostly naivete on my part, because, see, I was that exuberant child that just shared everything. I volunteered information. And my dad used to tell me, don't volunteer information. Now I understand what they mean by that. It's not saying you can't share information, but be discerning, be cautious in what you share. Because when you give someone ammo, you don't realize it's ammo at the time, but they'll take your words and they'll twist them and use them against you. I'm not saying this is the case with everybody, but you need to learn to discern who is meant to be your audience and in your inner circle. Who deserves your time and energy? Who even deserves your response? Because some people feel entitled to assume that everybody has to answer to them. Now think about that. Do you really think you answer to everybody? Do they all have a stake in your life? Heed the caution, heed the warning. The moment someone tries to put you on the defense while they're in the offense, it's a projection. It's their way of taking the attention off of themselves. And so if this person, let's say you've had this encounter once before, they put you on the defense, and here you are going at it, defending yourself. And they're inside of their smug little smile is going off like, I got them, hook, line, and sinker. And you've given them the ammunition. And what you don't realize is you've admitted through your defense that you yourself don't have the confidence or trust within yourself, that you had to defend yourself. That's the more subtle but blatant truth that is being told when you put yourself in a defensive mode and you start giving excuses or defending yourself. Psychology. People are people, and when someone's still unhealthy and unhealed, they use the ammo, the information that a person gives them, to use against them to uplift themselves. This is when you're dealing with unhealthy, toxic people, or people who just are looking to promote themselves or project their stuff on you or deflect. But the truer question is more important. Why do you feel the need to defend? Are you in awareness, consciously, of what it is that puts you in a defensive mode? What makes you feel the need to defend yourself or lay out all the excuses? Or here's the reasoning for what I did, or why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking, or what I want to do. Be very attentive. Is it because you just need to be heard? Do you feel the need to explain yourself because you want to hear it out loud? there's all sorts of reasons people will speak things, but don't just projectile and vomit without thinking. Because if you're able to reflect and recognize, wow, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to give this person any excuse. They just feel entitled to me because maybe you've done it before. And when you stop being so accessible and stop volunteering your life story or your excuses and defense, when you stop volunteering information, people will be more curious. They'll pay more attention. Especially if you're a go-getter and you prove and you walk your talk, because then they'll be like, well, I didn't know you were doing that. And you can smile and say, I didn't have to tell anybody. I don't need anyone's permission. Because essentially, in a lot of ways, when you're defending yourself, you're acting like you need someone's permission. And that's the bottom line with defense. You don't need anybody else's permission. You don't need to defend yourself or excuse yourself in any case. Our culture has just conditioned and indoctrinated so many to be so quick to defend as if you're guilty of something or that you have to prove yourself innocent. When in reality, the majority of the time, you don't have to say a damn thing. So own that. Step into your personal power. Step into your confidence. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And the reason, one of the reasons this all came up, I was really reflecting upon it. Number one, I was walking Buddy on this past week on Friday. It was a beautiful sunny day. So I wanted to enjoy the walk, and I was in my phone, and Buddy's just such a loving, he's such a, bubbly puppy dog. He's just friendly with everybody. Nobody has a problem with him. I know most of my neighbors on the street. Everybody loves Buddy. There's one neighbor I've only seen twice, maybe a third time. And I've lived here since 2015, and I walk this all the time. And I had seen him one other time, and he got mad because the dog was going to the bathroom on the yard. I clean up after my dog. This isn't even a question. I didn't realize this man was out with somebody else, and they were clearing leaves on the yard. And Buddy just decides he's going to take a poop. And the guy's like, hey, you need to stop your dog. And I was in a very sweet bubble of energy. I didn't get reactive. I didn't feel it in my body like sometimes you do. Somebody attacks you, somebody yells at you, you kind of like get jarred. I was in a very peaceful state. Yes, I was in my phone and I was listening or reading something. And I look over and my dog is in the middle of a squat. And I'm thinking to myself, I started to think to pull the leash, and then I went, you know what? If I was taking a dump and someone jerked me, I'd be pissed off. That's not very kind. I'm like, I'm going to let my dog take his poop. And this guy's yelling at me like I needed to stop my dog from pooping, that he's mad at me because I was in my phone, and I've done this before, and I'm going to call the cops on you, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, I am the friendliest neighbor you could ever have. I smile and wave at everybody. But something about this man, he's got some serious anger issues, and he was looking to attack. And I don't know why he chose me and my dog, but we had never done anything to him, ever. I'm not a mean person. I'm not vindictive. I would never do anything to upset anybody. It is not in my character. My integrity is strong in knowing that I have never done anything to this person. And he's yelling at me, and he's accusing me of being such a bad person, and how I'm in my phone, and that dog, and like, I don't know what he has against the dog. We have bunnies that roam free in the neighborhood, but I hate to think what he does to the bunnies. Nobody's responsible for those bunnies. But it told me this man is so angry within himself that he's spilling out at me. It's not about me. It wasn't about Buddy. And that's what you have to have, is compassion and understanding that a lot of times what you're experiencing from another person coming at you has nothing to do with you. He was so angry at whatever's going on in his life, whatever internally, and this is what cancer is, it eats you from the inside out. If a person is spilling over and screaming and yelling and accusing and attacking you, what they're showing you is their own pain within themselves. And so I just looked at him like, wow. I didn't react. I just responded and said, I am so sorry that you are so angry. I couldn't even come up with anything else to say to him because I wasn't seeing it as me being attacked. I even thought about it later, like, wow, maybe this is all he knows how to communicate. Because some people don't know how to properly communicate and ask for attention. Maybe that's his way to interact. Maybe that's just how he is. That's the only way he knows to communicate, is to yell, is to be angry at people, or even to get attention, because that sometimes is a form of getting attention for some people. But you never know what battles people are fighting on the inside that it pours over and spills into the outside. And so at one point I cleaned up, I'm cleaning up his poop. It's not like I had the bag ready. And I reach down and I pick up the poop and he looks over like, make sure you get it all. And I'm like, I'm sure I got it all. I always clean up after my dog. And I'm like, I am really sorry that you were so angry. And he kept on yelling at me, telling me how he's going to call the cops. And he doesn't want me walking out in front of his house. Like, he was very territorial of that space. And I was like, wow, I'm really sad for you. Like, that you're so angry that you have to yell at me. I've never done anything to deserve that. And I just walked, and I had a great walk with Buddy, and I tried not to get too deeply reflective into it. There was just a moment when I realized maybe it's just because he doesn't know how to communicate any other way. And so again, you don't have to defend yourself. Especially in that case, maybe that's what he expected because that's what he's used to. He expected some defense, or maybe he expected me to attack back. Because, see, you disarm somebody who expects a certain reaction or response, mostly reaction. When you don't react that same way back, you disarm them. If you can sink into the, okay, this isn't about me. What is this really about? How can I be compassionate? Because this is something deeper within them. And when you respond to a person who is in a very volatile, angry state, and like I told my counselor today, I said, it's like the iceberg. You only see that small piece, but below the surface of the water, the iceberg's so much bigger, so much deeper. So I don't know what kind of depression, anger, shame, guilt, blame he deals with on the internal, but I know it was peeling over, it was pouring over onto me on the outside. So remember that whatever you think someone is looking like on the outside, it's amplified on the inside. I've always tried to remind myself about that. That anybody who is screaming, yelling, upset, triggered, that's really for them, that's their opportunity for growth and healing. But if you can hold them and not engage in it, not enable it, like disarm it with compassion. Smile at them and try to give them as much love from your heart, even if it means walking away. But whatever you do, if you respond in a way that's not what they're used to, you've already created a shift. You've already created some energetic shift in their life. And sometimes you don't realize you might have been what they needed that day. That's the only thing I could come up with for that situation, because I was in such a beautiful, loving space. I was literally in my own little bubble, and Buddy was all happy and bubbly, and it was a beautiful sunshiny day, and I was just enjoying my walk. And I was like, wow, I'm not bothering anybody. So I know that wasn't about me. But maybe my energy was able to dissipate something by disarming him. I didn't defend myself. I didn't make excuses. I didn't give him any type of character attack. I just said, I'm sorry that you're so angry, that you feel the need to yell at me, you know? And this is something that takes a lot of mindfulness, takes a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight. Even with me, with my family, who I love dearly, sometimes I get upset and sometimes I react. Because I care so much, I recognize it, and I'm like, oh, you can handle that better, Lana. So every time you catch yourself on the reaction side, you just remind yourself there's another opportunity that will come up to respond with more compassion and love and support, something that will allow the shift to happen, to disarm the other individual as opposed to enable them in their crazy behavior that is a pattern. Because that's a trauma response. For them to get triggered by something, there's something in it for them to heal. There's something that came to the surface for their deep reflection. It's not about you. Don't make it about you. Don't engage with it. It has to be disarmed. And you're not going to be able to do it for everybody. I just want you to know this, because I've tried it with many a person that I was like, okay, that was not for me to do. Or, I've had to learn through so many different times where I can do this. I can hold the space. And then I'm like, I overestimated. Or maybe I underestimated. We're all navigating the waters. We think we got all the answers, but that's just ego. That's just ego. And the ego thinks it's always right, and it wants to be right. You got to tap into your heart. That's where it's at. So defending yourself is essentially going to put you in harm's way, because people will take that as you being not confident. Lacking confidence shows when you're on the defense. When you're explaining yourself, you're pretty much telling the other person, I don't trust myself. Because I'm explaining myself to you, I don't even trust my words. You have to really clue into your own words, what languaging you're using, because you're casting a spell. So even in essence, in explaining yourself, you're reinforcing a spell that says, I lack confidence. I gave my power to somebody by saying, you're worthy of me explaining myself to you, that I have just handed over. Here's my energy and my worthiness. Here's the power. Now go ahead and hold it over me. So anytime you explain yourself to somebody, you're basically giving them the upper hand. It's not your job to do that. You're not obligated. You don't need their permission. You don't need their permission. Try to remember that. So if somebody tries to make you feel like they're entitled to an excuse or defense from you, I'm sorry, I don't need your permission to be me. You don't even have to say anything. You being in awareness of the pattern, because it's a pattern we have to break, it's a cycle, it's a legacy. And it's in the collective consciousness that we automatically go to defend ourselves to people who don't deserve it or feel entitled to our energy. When you're defending yourself to somebody, you're just handing over your power. You're explaining, I lack confidence, and you're higher than me. And here it is. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Value yourself more. You are worth more than that. We were born worthy. We were created by the Most High in His image, God's image. So why is it that we question it? Why do we even do this little dance with humans, right? As humans, it's a funny thing that we got going on right now, is that we got a lot of humans trying to control each other. Does that make sense to anybody? Do you feel the need to defend yourself in any of that? Disengage. Walk away. Those people are pulling a power play with you. Anytime someone is trying to get you on the defense, to prove yourself worthy, to explain yourself, or anything like that, that's a power play. That's not about you, that's about them. Because they're so out of control with their lives, they want to control yours. So stand in your personal power, reclaim your life, reclaim your control over your life. Don't allow others to come in and Jedi mind trick you, cast a spell. You need to tell me why. You need to explain yourself to me. No, I don't. I don't need your permission. I'm a grown adult, and you are not the authority over me. I didn't give you permission to speak to me in a certain way. I don't believe we have a contract, right? I don't remember signing anything that said you are entitled to an excuse. Once again, they make it about them because They themselves can't control their own lives. That's what control is really about. When a person doesn't have control over themselves in their own life, they will seek out others. That's what narcissism is about. It's crazy making. Don't get caught up in the trap. Don't get caught up in the cycle. One of the reasons I was reflecting on this, though, is I don't know if this is going to make a difference if I even say the name, but this whole thing with Joe Rogan, I had seen where I found it interesting because, you know, there's all sorts of what I would call controlled opposition. There's all sorts of distraction flags out there, red flags as I call them. Like, don't get caught up in all this craziness, because the reason it's out there is to keep you out of your own life. It's like a soap opera. Haven't you noticed? I said this the other day to somebody. I'm like, this life is like watching a really bad soap opera. And I didn't really care for them when I was younger either. And you're basically watching people who don't have any stake in your life playing out their roles because they're all actors on a stage. And then, you know, I'm not saying that someone speaking up and being attacked for what they're saying doesn't need attention. It does. But even in the case of Joe Rogan, and he came out and apologized. And that's what had me kind of sitting there going, why? You got so many followers. Why do you have to explain yourself? Even with the, you know, the what did they call it? The horse pace stuff that he was using. Like, why do you have to defend yourself to anybody? I wouldn't have done any of that. If you're in such a confident role, you're a role model, you're showing people, hey, it's my life and I get to choose. I don't have to explain myself to you. Even that to me was a red flag. And I was reflecting on that. I'm like, of all the people, the last thing I want to see is you defending yourself. Because what did it do? It created more attack, if you noticed. That's what got my wheels turning. Like, yeah, here you have an individual that people are looking up to because of the circumstances. And I'm sitting over here going, but why did you defend yourself? Why did you apologize? These are the things that make me go, huh, that was opening himself up for more attack. You just gave them ammo because they're going to take it and run, because those are the behaviors and the characters that you're dealing with. But is this all just a show, just to keep you distracted? Because that's how I see everything these days. That everything that's going on in the world is to keep you out of your own world. That if you're not focused and fixated on your path and your purpose in this life, then you get hijacked by the rest of this. And then you start comparing yourself and you wonder, oh, I could never get away with that because I don't have the clout. I don't have the notoriety. I don't have that many followers. When in reality, you're just as capable of being powerful and impacting the world. You just may not think so because you're comparing yourself. Once again, that's how we, oh, I'm not worthy. I don't have that, right? There we go again. Contrast and comparison against another person. Anytime you do that, you're disempowering yourself. Stop doing that. Try to stop shoulding and coulding on yourself. I don't have, or because of this. Stop with the excuses or self-abuses. Anytime you compare yourself to another, you've disempowered yourself. This isn't about you against anybody else. You have a special role in this life. I have a special role. When we start comparing ourselves to other people, when we start looking at other influencers or whatever it is we want to do that are in the same niche, what you don't realize is you make yourself smaller whenever you compare yourself. It is better to disengage and not follow the people that you feel competitive with or are in the same niche, because the more you're watching them, the less you're doing you. And the truth is that's taking you out of your power. You watching other people and not doing you is not allowing you to grow. So we all need mentors, we all need coaches, we all need therapists and different people to support us in our lives. I think it's imperative, because the only way you grow is with people who hold you accountable. I've spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, I'm sure, on therapy, on Date with Destiny, all sorts of workshops, my teacher trainings, psychology classes, because I did take psychology when I was in my degrees. I'm a sponge. So not only do I spend money on taking actual physical classes and personal development, empowerment, I also do my due diligence. I am a researcher. I like to soak up information. I absolutely love books. I grew up in libraries. I grew up with a triple Sag mom who was feeding me all sorts of intuitive information as well as my own, that when I channel something, and a lot of times you'll notice if I'm rhyming, that's definitely divine channeling through me, because the divine loves to rhyme, and that's also partially my mom. But when you truly know in your heart something is aligned, you need to stay in that. You need to stay connected to your essence. You need to have a daily practice. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I know for me, it's imperative. First thing in the morning, I'm going to do a cold shower. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to rinse. I'm going to do my monkey glands. I'm going to scrape my tongue. I'm going to get the monkey glands is to get the nodules of like phlegm out, the toxins that build up overnight. There should be at least 3. I rinse my mouth with hydrogen water. I drink at least, I think, about a liter of water in the morning just to cleanse my body, to flush it out. I take a cold shower, take my magnesium. I have a couple supplements like the B12. I don't take a full dropper because I don't feel like the body will absorb all of it. It'll just pee it out. And then, throughout the day, I have my practice first thing in the morning too. Breath work. And then reflection and journaling. And then, of course, what is my itinerary for today? What are the things that I have to accomplish that I'd like to accomplish? Because I don't know, sometimes you don't get to everything. What is your non-negotiable? What is it that you have to do for you every day? Are you able to also slow down? Because we're not meant to be constantly going. We humans need to take it slow sometimes and stop beating ourselves up when we do. This is the time of self-nourishment, people. This isn't the time of continue to hamster wheel life. Hey, I did that. I developed chronic pain. And that's what I've been healing from all these years. And I will be sharing soon, because I have been a little quieter about the fact that I'm getting ready to have an explant surgery. I am going to have my breasts removed. I've had them in for 23 years. So I'm going to be going through a major life change there, because it's going to be a whole body change. For 23 years, I've had breast implants, and I'm ready to let go. Because to me, that's like the last remnant of old energy from my past life. I also feel like it's going to release a lot of grief and heaviness on my heart, and also some physical ailments that I think are associated with it. And I'm excited. So if things work out the way they're supposed to, March 29th, I go in for surgery. I can only document so much, and I haven't really documented much because I wanted to have it aligned. I wanted to make sure that it was scheduled. And so it's scary, but it's exciting, because I'm going to see my body without 2 sacks on my chest. I mean, I know a lot of men, they look at women with these big, beautiful, firm breasts, but I'm starting to look around and go, I don't even find it attractive anymore. Like, I think it's beautiful to have breasts. I love my nipples. I love my breasts. But why don't we love our bodies as they are? Why do we have to put so many different, people getting booty implants? They're getting breast implants, cheek implants. I mean, what does the body look like after all that is done? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think it's great that you can modify. Obviously, I did it. But at a certain point, I mean, I was thinking about what would my body be like at the end, when you're coming to the end of life. I mean, I would like to think they'd have to take the breast implants out to disintegrate or whatever they do with the body afterward, but that's got to be weird. I just want to be au naturel at this point, because I don't want to have any more man-made stuff within me. As it stands, I don't know if y'all know about this. You better go out and do the research. This isn't any type of funny story, but this is a true story. And I know I've known about it for a couple of years because my sister and I have been talking about it. I forgot what state was making it legal to take human remains, the bodies broken down with lye, to use to spray on agricultural fields. Do you feel good about that? Do you feel good about the idea that your food would be produced with lye and human remains? Now, you have no idea how those people died. You don't know what kind of diseases are being put in that soil and regurgitated and put into your food. Lye isn't a natural way to do it. I think it just grosses me out. Human sludge, human waste sludge in our agriculture. Yuck. I mean, cannibalism's already been proven by McDonald's. We had that one Zionist caught on film. He didn't deny it whatsoever. He said, McDonald's is our biggest client for human remains, like human meat. That should gross you the hell out. It does me. There's a reason I stopped eating meat. The reason I stopped eating meat wasn't for the humane aspect. I'm going to be straight up. I've always said that. When I had a reaction to wheat and gluten back in February of 2010, I started tracing my food out. I stopped eating birds like chicken prior because of the bird flu when I lived in Europe. I was like, ew. That was enough to freak me out. So I said, I'm not doing chicken anymore because I didn't even like chicken as far as the sinuousy. I just hated cleaning a chicken anyway. But I stopped eating chicken because of that. Then I found out about how you can get the bacteria that causes UTIs from just being in the presence of a contaminated chicken. I mean, they don't tell you if the chicken was healthy. They just stick all these chickens, industrial raised chickens in close quarters. You don't know what kind of stuff they're passing on to you. I really just started thinking about all this stuff, and then I traced out, like I used to say, and the universe works in mysterious ways, I'm never giving up my real butter or my filet mignon. That was my mantra. You know what the universe did? Poke! All the universe was hearing was, I'm giving up my real butter and my filet mignon. I thought that was pretty funny because that proved to me the power of manifestation, and where attention goes, energy flows, that the universe does not hear the not, it hears the focus. That was my own proof. I wasn't trying to give anything up. And since then I've had both, but that was the divine comedy. That was the universe showing me. You want to see how powerful you are? Watch this. And so, like I said, I had to start looking at what was in my food, and I started tracing the food chain because I thought, well, if the cow is eating wheat or wheat grass, because I'm allergic to wheatgrass, that means that whatever the cow consumes, I consume. And if you're not thinking like that, and you have chronic illnesses, you have immune suppressing illnesses, which essentially is your body rejecting something. Usually whatever's going on in your body is a rejection of it. So maybe you're consuming something and you don't want to give it up because, it's your favorite thing. So you're addicted to it. But that could be the one thing that is causing you the most harm. But I always like to remind people everything begins in the mind. So if you're having a mood and you reach for the food, that food reinforces the mood, especially if it's a psychological connection, if it's an old trauma. A lot of times when we're in a mood, that's what causes us to reach for certain foods. And then we eat the food and it reinforces the mood and the cycle continues. And that's the cycle of addiction. Again, it's doing the same thing over and over again isn't going to give you a different result. It's going to give you the same result. And that's a great example of it. So as I removed the meat and I healed as much as I have since then, I have had meat since then. I have had butter. I have had dairy. I never said I was a vegan. I never said I was any dogmatic label. I dislike labels because labels are like death sentences. They limit you. I'm not here to fight for limitations. I have a big vision. And I think the most important thing anyone out there could adopt for themselves, don't fight for your limitations just because you took so long creating the mistake to begin with. Because that's a lot of times what people are doing. They're fighting for their limitations, defending why they do things because they don't want to, as opposed to recognizing they've used the crutch and the excuse of whatever it is that label has given them. And a lot of times it enables the victimhood mentality, enables the treatment. It enables people to maybe, oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe you get attention for that. This is real psychology. This is what people do, but only you know. Oh no, only you know you. And I've been there and done that. Like, I remember when I would be in a very, oh, did you see what they did to me? Victimhood mindset. It was disempowering. I made it about other people, but it was really me making it about myself. What they were doing had nothing to do with me and everything to do with whatever was going on with them. And when you own you and what you do, then maybe you can actually stop making excuses. Stop defending yourself, thinking that you have to get permission from others. Because the only person you need permission from is yourself. So stop with the labels. Stop trying to fit in a box. You're meant to be bigger and brighter and live your life out loud. Who cares who hears? If you're more distracted by who's paying attention on the outside, then that's your ego. Whatever's going on in your heart is what should be singing. Like, live out loud of your heart. Like, really spread that wide. Get out there, be seen, be heard. That's what you're here for. We all are. You don't need permission for that. You are a gift as you are. So I hope this video has served someone well, because I really want people to feel like, hey, why am I defending myself? Like, really think about it. Why do I feel the need to explain myself to somebody? And you know who they are, because you may do it all the time with them. Stop. Just stop. It's like holding the glass or the hot potato. Just drop it. Let it go. Let it go and let yourself flow. Allow your life to unfold, because the divine is always there to protect and watch over you, especially the more attuned you are to you. When we know why we do what we do, then we can shift that. We can have a holy shift. Shake that out. Move it out. So, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share it, spread the love. Please leave me a comment. I need to know. Give me some feedback on this. Does this resonate with you? Does this make sense? Let me know what kind of content you'd like to see or hear me talk about. And before we sign off, let's do a breathing exercise, because I think it's important that we stop, drop, and breathe. All right, so come into a nice, comfortable position. We're not going to have to tune in. You're just going to close your eyes, focus at the third eye point. Just rest your hands. You don't have to have them in any way. You can place one hand in the other, or you can just both palms facing up. Soften the jaw, open the mouth, move the jaw side to side and forward and back, because that stimulates the 10th cranial nerve. Move your head around, because we do carry a lot of tension. And if you clench your jaw, and especially before you go to bed at night, you want to be aware, because it causes the muscles in the neck to stiffen up and tighten, that travel down into the shoulders and down the back and end up in the hip creases. So let's just close our eyes and soften the face, softening the jaw. Relax the ears. Relax the sides of the neck. Relax down the neck. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Breathing long, slow, and deep into the pelvic floor, expanding the belly, lifting up the heart. And then on the exhale, just feel the release, the relax, even softer. Feel like it's washing over you. Pulling in and up at the navel point on the last little bit of air that you expel. Inhaling slow. Scanning your body. Notice where you're feeling tension and little pinches or tweaks. And you can move. Nobody said you don't have to move. Move your body if you feel the need to move. Breathe into any areas of tightness or stiffness. Feel with every exhale the release in the shoulders, even relaxing more away from the ears. Keeping that chin level, ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the hips. Thank your body. Thank you, body, for carrying me through this life. Thank you, body, for supporting me, for being such a great healer, because we are innate healers. No, we don't need permission to heal. That's an internal job. So one thing they don't want you to know is you have the power to heal from within. So thank your body. Thank your heart and lungs, your heart for pumping all the blood throughout the body, your lungs for taking in that oxygen, oxygenating the blood in all the organs. The nervous system, for connecting the dots and sending the messages throughout the whole body. The brain, what a creative, imaginative, artistic, phenomenal brain we have. Thank the mind for observing and witnessing and noticing what goes on. The eyes for seeing, for taking in information and data, for the beauty of life that you get to behold. The nose for all the smells, perfumes, all those scents you get to feel and see and sense through the nose. Thanking the ears, you're so lucky you get to hear that beautiful music, the sound of certain people's voices, even the stuff you don't want to hear. Better to know than not. The mouth, licking your lips, tasting the flavors, the rainbow of flavors of life. What an amazing gift to eat, to be able to experience the richness of the foods and the drinks that we get to partake in. Our hands, 5 fingers on both hands. Each finger represents a planet. Meridians, we're just so blessed. Even our feet, we get to step on the earth. We can touch and feel, moving your ankles around, moving your wrists around, just opening up those areas. Just thank your body. Thank your orifices. You get to take things in and let them out. Your sex organs. Hey, come on. You should be appreciating that with or without a partner. That's all I'm saying. Sex is sacred. Be very mindful of who you trade and share energy with. Thank your stomach for digesting the yummy food that you take in. Thank your muscles for contracting, for expanding, for all the mobility that you have. Some people don't have. Be grateful what you have. Every moment of gratitude is a prayer for more of that. And just be present with anything else that you yourself are grateful for in your life. Knowing that the more you're grateful, the more will come in. This gift of life, this blessing, all these experiences you get to experience and live and love and laugh and dance and shout, to create. We are blessed. You are blessed. I am grateful for you. I am grateful for me. I am grateful for we and everybody. Thank you. Bring your hands to heart center and say, take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Hands together, pressing on one another. That is balancing the hemispheres of the brain, bringing the right to the left, making you connected and whole. Inhale together. And just let go of whatever feels heavy. You don't even have to know what it is. Just let go. And one more inhale. Exhale out a sigh. Make a sound. We are all light beings. We all make music, whether you hum, you can harmonize, you can do whatever you want, because that's your frequency, that's your energy, that's your vibration. And believe it or not, when we attune and atone to our own sounds, that's a gift of you. Whether you do it in front of others or in the privacy of your own home, just do whatever you feel called to do. And you don't always need a witness. Become friends with your own voice. Harmonize, dance, sing, whatever it is that feels right to you. You don't need permission from anybody. And it's none of your business what anybody thinks of it. Enjoy it. You do you, and don't compare it to anybody else. That's a gift of you. Step into your essence. You don't need permission to do that. Reclaim your power. Stop giving it away, especially in the form of excuses or explaining yourself. No need to defend you, because you are perfectly you. Have sweet dreams. I love you very much. Until next time.